focus on yourself and your life will begin to shift. When you choose to direct your energy toward your goals, something powerful happens. Your decisions become sharper, your mind becomes clearer, and suddenly each step you take has meaning. This isn't selfishness, it's self-rescue, because you deserve to live a life that excites you, to build your own path and stop running on autopilot. And it all starts with one decision: to make yourself a priority. The next few minutes will open your eyes. You'll learn step by step how to redirect your focus toward what truly matters: your dreams, your growth, and your peace of mind. Because real change doesn't come from the outside. It begins the moment you stop being a spectator and step up as the author of your own story. For years, I lived by other people's rules. I woke up, went to work, ate, slept, and repeated. I was checking boxes on a list I didn't even write. Until one day, it hit me. I wasn't living my story. I was reading from a script that wasn't mine. And if life taught me anything, it's that no one can write your story better than you. Today, I tell everyone who listens, you are not a side character. You're the lead role. You decide whether the next chapter will be about struggle or breakthrough. If you love music, write songs. If cooking lights you up, learn new recipes. If your dream is freedom, take one small action toward it. Because once you take the pen back into your hands, everything begins to change, line by line. There was a time I thought putting myself first was selfish. I was taught that caring for others was noble, the right thing to do. But no one ever told me that if you're running on empty, you can't give anything meaningful. I learned that putting myself first wasn't about shutting the world out. It was about showing up stronger for it. I started protecting my space. I gave myself silence when I needed it, rest when I earned it, and time to just be with myself. That clarity spilled over into everything: work, conversations, even my smile. It wasn't magic, it was inner work. I had finally begun to take care of the engine that keeps me moving forward. When you shift your mindset and realize that focusing on yourself is an act of generosity, everything changes. You don't disconnect from people, you connect more deeply. A walk in the park, a good book like The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, or simply turning off your phone for an hour. All of that feeds your soul, because when you feel good, life starts aligning naturally. For years, I kept asking why some people achieved extraordinary things while others with the same chances stayed stuck. It wasn't luck, it wasn't even talent, it was mindset. The way they faced obstacles, failure, and criticism. Changing how I thought changed how I lived. That shift became the key to everything. Once I started seeing myself as someone with value, the world started looking different. I stopped saying, "I'm not good at this," and started saying, "I'm still learning." I no longer feared failure. I saw it as proof that I was growing. Like the first time I spoke in public, my hands shook, but I did it. And each time after that, I grew stronger. Building a powerful mindset is daily work. Reading books like Think and Grow Rich, surrounding yourself with people who believe in growth, writing affirmations that remind you of who you really are. It's not just about thinking positive, it's about training your mind like you train your body. Because your mind is the lens through which everything passes, and that lens determines your reality. For a long time, my goals were vague. I wanted to get better, be successful, live a better life. But those words were too broad. I never knew where to begin. Until one day I sat down, took a deep breath, and wrote out clear, measurable goals, with dates and direction. That was the moment. It's about saying, I'll read 3 books this month, run 5 kilometers by Friday, save $100 in 2 weeks. When you're specific, your brain knows what to target. It begins to look for paths. It's like activating a radar that spots opportunities and filters out distractions. Since I started setting clear goals, life has felt smoother. I wake up with purpose, work with focus, and feel true satisfaction when I follow through. And when things don't go as planned, I know exactly what to adjust. Clear goals aren't chains, they're bridges. They connect you to a sharper, more powerful version of yourself, and they prepare you for even greater transformation. Once I figured out what I really wanted, I knew that wanting it wasn't enough. I needed a plan, something real, something I could follow every day. That's when I built my growth routine.
Not a rigid calendar, but a roadmap with meaning. Daily reading, morning exercise, quiet moments to check in with myself. I started adding habits that pushed me forward. Books like Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, personal development podcasts during walks, 10 minutes of meditation each morning. It wasn't perfect, but it was consistent. Because growth isn't about sprinting up a mountain, it's about climbing one step at a time. Time is the one thing we all get equally, 24 hours a day, but the real difference is how we use them. I used to spend my days putting out fires, reacting to the urgent, and ignoring the important. Then I started tracking where my time actually went. That's when I realized I didn't lack time, I lacked focus. So I eliminated the time wasters, useless notifications, empty conversations, tasks that drained me but gave nothing back. I started using digital planners and the Pomodoro technique. I even stopped binge watching shows, not because they were bad, but because they didn't build the life I was trying to create. The change was instant. Now, whether I'm working or resting, I know I'm choosing to do it, and that sense of control changes everything. Investing your time in what truly matters is a powerful way to respect your future. Because when you learn to manage your hours, you start shaping your destiny, intentionally and with clarity. I also realized it's not just about what you do, it's about where and with whom. Your environment shapes your thoughts, your decisions, even your emotions. For years, I surrounded myself with noise, negativity, and meaningless content. I couldn't understand why I felt stuck until I cleared my space and everything shifted. I turned off the TV that drained me. I muted people who only complained. I filled my space with inspiration, posters with bold quotes, books like Awaken the Giant Within, uplifting music, and people who made me feel stronger. Changing my environment was like opening windows after a storm. The light came pouring in. Now, I choose my surroundings with the same care I used to choose my goals. Because what surrounds you programs you. Every conversation, every sound, every corner of your home sends messages to your mind. Surround yourself with growth, with beauty, with good energy, and watch how your decisions shift. And those decisions, they're your bridge to the next level. For a while, I thought success meant non-stop hustle. No rest, no breaks, just pushing forward. But my body started sending warning signs. Exhaustion, sleepless nights, zero focus. That's when I learned you can't build big dreams on a weak foundation. Your physical and mental health is the true engine of success. So I started eating better, moving my body
For years, I believed they didn't matter, that I should only focus on what was practical. But one day, while playing guitar, without thinking of anything else, I felt this powerful clarity. I realized developing your talents isn't vanity, it's a return to who you truly are. I started taking classes, practicing, failing, and trying again. Not to compete, but to expand. I did the same with my relationships. I stopped chasing quantity and started investing in quality. Deeper conversations, honest gestures, slow and present moments. Life began to feel richer, more human, more real. Nurturing your talents gives you confidence. Strengthening your relationships gives you roots, and both are essential for living a life with purpose. Never underestimate the power of a real conversation or an hour spent doing what you love. Because when you feed who you are and who you love, you start building a legacy far beyond outward success. I remember Carla, a friend who spent years stuck in a job she hated. Every morning she'd wake up drained, joyless, living on autopilot. Until one day, after reading The Power of Now, she decided to invest in herself. She took a design course, started creating, and within a year she had her own studio. Her transformation was remarkable. I also think of Javier. He struggled with self-esteem for decades. Then he started running, picked up books like Atomic Habits, and little by little rebuilt his confidence. It wasn't about one massive shift overnight. It was about small, loving choices repeated consistently. His eyes changed, his presence changed, his life changed. These stories aren't miracles. They're the result of ordinary people who decided enough is enough and began moving forward. Not in a rush, but with direction. Every step taken toward your most authentic self leaves a mark. Because when you see others rise from the ground up, you start to believe that you can too, and that belief already begins to change you from the inside. For years, I tried to please everyone. Family, friends, coworkers. I was always available, always saying yes, until I realized I was completely drained. I had given so much, I forgot about me. It was hard to admit, but I understood something important. If I didn't take care of myself first, I couldn't genuinely care for anyone else. So I started with the basics: rest, clean eating, moments to disconnect. I gave myself permission to say, today I need time for me, without guilt. It wasn't selfish, it was maturity. Just like on a plane, you're told to put your oxygen mask on first, because if you can't breathe, you can't help others breathe either. I never understood the power of a morning routine until I lived it. I used to wake up rushing, checking my phone, reacting from the moment I opened my eyes. That kind of start drained me before breakfast. But when I decided to change, everything shifted. I began waking up an hour earlier with no distractions. That time became sacred. Those first minutes of the day are mine. Sometimes I read a chapter of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Other times I meditate or write what I'm grateful for. It's my moment to align my body, mind, and spirit. And since I started doing that, my days no longer drag me, I lead them. But to protect that routine, I had to learn to say no. No to pointless meetings, no to commitments that pulled me away from what matters, no to distractions disguised as emergencies. Saying no isn't rejection, it's respect. Every no to what drains you is a yes to what builds you. And that focus becomes the compass for your evolution. I grew up believing that if something didn't come easy to me, I simply wasn't meant for it. But over time, I discovered a powerful truth. It wasn't about lacking talent, it was about lacking a growth mindset. Changing that belief unlocked doors I didn't even know existed. I learned that failure isn't the end, it's part of the training.
When a project didn't work out, I studied it, adjusted, and tried again. Like when I launched my first online business, and it failed. I didn't quit. I took a course, refined my strategy, and 6 months later, it started generating steady income. That's the growth mindset in action. Building this mindset is like tending a garden. It takes daily care, positive inputs, and removing the weeds of destructive self-talk. Reading, listening to success stories, being around people who keep moving, everything helps. Because when you believe you can improve, you give yourself permission to try. And when you try, you begin to transform your life. There was a moment when everything looked fine on the outside, but inside, there was a storm. I felt lost and didn't know why. That's when I started asking the hard questions. What do I truly value? What hurts me? What lights me up? That was the beginning of a new journey. Self-awareness. One of the bravest paths I've ever walked. I started journaling, observing my emotions, and asking for honest feedback from people I trusted. I uncovered patterns, limiting beliefs, and strengths I'd ignored. Like realizing I avoided leadership because I feared judgment. That single insight changed how I showed up, because when you see yourself clearly, you set yourself free. For a long time, I thought only the big wins were worth celebrating. I'd finish a project, hit a milestone, and immediately chase the next thing. Until I realized something essential. Real power lives in consistency, not fireworks. And every small, steady step deserves recognition too. I remember when I committed to reading 10 pages a day. It didn't seem like much until I finished over 15 books in a year. Or when I started doing just 5 push-ups daily. A month later, I could do 30 without thinking. It's not the size that matters, it's the rhythm. Because what's consistent grows roots. And what has roots endures. Now, when I stick to my habits for a week, I celebrate. A quiet walk, a kind word to myself, a small reward. Acknowledging your effort isn't vanity, it's fuel. The more you honor your progress, the more strength you find to keep going. That's how greatness is built, brick by brick without skipping any layers. And something beautiful happens when you grow on the inside. You feel the urge to share it. not for praise, but out of gratitude. Like when I learned to manage my finances and started helping my friends do the same. Giving isn't always money. Sometimes it's time, presence, a truth, a hand. When you give while growing, you rise higher too. There was a time I only saw what I lacked. More money, more time, more validation. And the more I focused on what I didn't have, the more frustrated I felt. Until one day, almost by accident, I started writing 3 things I was grateful for each morning. That simple habit changed everything. Gratitude rewires your mind. Suddenly, you value your coffee, a text from a friend, a roof over your head. It's not about ignoring problems, it's about seeing the beauty inside the chaos, like noticing your shoes are dry during a storm. It's small, but it's something. Since I started practicing gratitude, I don't need perfection to feel peace. And the more I give thanks, the more reasons I find to keep doing it. Gratitude isn't the end of the journey. It's the bridge to what truly matters, even when life feels like it's on pause. Now that you've come this far, there's something you need to understand. Hearing this isn't enough. You have